The very fabric of space seemed frozen in the presence of that ultimate entity. Gogeta stood there, suspended in a sky stained with the color of blood and ash, his Metamoran vest flapping gently though the air around him was completely still. His brilliant azure hair radiated a holy light, pushing back the encroaching darkness that Black Frieza had cast over the earth. This was not merely light, it was the crystallization of hope, the perfect resonance between the two greatest opposing forces in the universe, Goku's Ultra Instinct and Vegeta's Ultra Ego. Gogeta's eyes, deep and commanding, looked down upon Frieza not with hatred, but with the gaze of a god observing a creature that had lost its way. Frieza, the one who just moments ago stood at the pinnacle of arrogance, now felt a cold chill run down his spine. He instinctively took a step back in midair. A sensation, nauseatingly familiar, flooded his mind: fear. The feeling he thought he had buried forever along with Planet Namek all those years ago had now resurfaced, stronger than ever. He gritted his teeth, the obsidian muscles of his body tensing, trying to dispel the invisible pressure weighing down on his psyche. "Gogeta," Frieza hissed, his voice a mixture of disdain and high alert, "again with this cheap fusion trick of you monkeys. Do you think that simply adding two failures together will create a miracle? I am Black Frieza. I have surpassed time, surpassed the limits of creation. I am absolute." Frieza's scream tore through the atmosphere. He waited no longer. Instinct told him that if he didn't strike first, he would never get the chance. Frieza lunged forward, his body transforming into a pitch-black arrow tearing through the wind. His speed was so great that the concept of time seemed to lose its meaning. He threw a punch cloaked in destruction energy, an attack capable of crushing a star, aimed directly at Gogeta's face. But the punch hit nothing but void. Gogeta didn't move. Or rather, Frieza couldn't see him move. In the eyes of the universe's tyrant, Gogeta simply blurred like a mirage. "You're too slow." The voice rang out from right beside Frieza's ear, cold and steely. Frieza's eyes widened in horror, but before his brain could process the information, a brain-splitting pain struck. Gogeta, with arms crossed over his chest, used just a single, gentle kick to the ribs, sending Frieza flying for thousands of miles. His body smashed through 7 consecutive mountain ranges, creating a chain of cataclysmic explosions, sending stone dust soaring into the clouds. From a distance, Beerus smirked, his golden eyes gleaming with amusement. The power of this fused warrior is truly an absurdity. He is bending reality around him. It isn't just raw power. Gogeta is using Ultra Instinct to dodge and Ultra Ego to amplify his attacks simultaneously. A balance so perfect, it is terrifying. Whis nodded in approval, his staff humming softly, "Precisely, Lord Beerus." Metamoran fusion multiplies power exponentially, but when combined with two opposing divine states, it creates a warrior with virtually no weaknesses. Frieza, despite his 10 years of training, is still just a solitary individual facing the power of ultimate unity. Beneath the rubble, Frieza let out a feral roar. A black and purple aura exploded, blasting all surrounding debris into dust. He shot up into the sky, his face distorted with rage. The pride of the strongest being in the universe was being trampled mercilessly. "Die. Just die." Frieza raised both hands to the sky. Tens of thousands of crimson death beams rained down like a deadly meteor shower. Each beam carried heat enough to vaporize oceans, aimed squarely at Gogeta's position. The sky of Earth glowed as if being consumed by the fires of hell. Gogeta maintained an unnervingly calm expression. He didn't dodge, nor did he create a barrier. He simply began to walk through the air, leisurely, as if strolling through his own garden. His hands moved fluidly, tracing exquisite curves. Every time a death beam approached, Gogeta simply tilted his head or flicked his finger. The deadly energy beams had their trajectories bent, sliding past him by mere millimeters, or were deflected back into the sky. The scene was as beautiful and majestic as a dance of the gods. Gogeta glided through the storm of fire and destruction, without a single scratch, without a drop of sweat. He closed in on Frieza, his sharp gaze locking onto his prey. "Let's end this game." Frieza. Gogeta vanished and reappeared directly in front of Frieza. This time, he held nothing back. A barrage of punches was unleashed. The speed of the punches was so great it created cracks in the space around them. The sound of fists colliding with Frieza's diamond-hard skin rang out like thunder. Each of Gogeta's punches carried the weight of judgment. Frieza was knocked high, then smashed down low, his body treated like a ragged puppet against absolute overwhelming power. Frieza coughed up fresh blood, pain invading his entire body. But physical pain was nothing compared to the humiliation in his soul. He, who had spent 10 years in the hyperbolic time chamber, enduring solitude and excruciating pain to reach this threshold of power, was now being beaten like a child. No. Impossible. I am the absolute. In a fit of ultimate madness, Frieza decided to play his final trump card. He no longer cared about destroying Earth or the universe, he only wanted to erase the being standing before him. Frieza spread his arms wide, and every pore on his body expelled a thick, black gas. The sky turned completely dark. The air became heavy, suffocating, as if all oxygen had been drained. O universe, witness eternal destruction. Supernova black hole, a gigantic sphere of energy, black as ink and swirling violently, appeared at Frieza's fingertips. It did not emit light, on the contrary, it sucked all surrounding light into itself. An artificial black hole, containing destruction power compressed to the limit. The gravity from the sphere was so immense that the ground below began to crack open, mountains were uprooted and sucked into it. Take this, Gogeta. If you dodge, Earth disappears. If you block it, you will be crushed to atoms. Frieza laughed maniacally, hurling the massive black hole sphere downward. Gogeta looked up, his gaze determined. He knew Frieza was right. He couldn't dodge. Behind him were his loved ones, the planet that Goku and Vegeta had sworn to protect very well. If you want a test of strength, I'll oblige. Gogeta lowered his stance, bringing his hands to his side. The blue ki exploded more violently than ever, mixing with golden and purple lightning coursing through his body. The collision of the two powers created a shockwave that reached the farthest galaxies. The ground shook violently, oceans rose in tsunamis. Frieza poured all his strength into pushing the sphere down, veins bulging on his forehead. Die, you monkeys, Gogeta gritted his teeth, his feet sinking deep into the bedrock. The weight of Frieza's attack was unimaginable, but in that moment of life and death, Gogeta closed his eyes. He felt the flow of energy from Ultra Instinct, letting his mind drift into absolute stillness, while simultaneously activating the explosive rage of Ultra Ego. Gogeta's eyes snapped open, his pupils turning a blinding silver. You've already lost, Frieza, because you fight only for yourself, while I fight for everyone, Gogeta shouted. And the Kamehameha suddenly swelled to double its size, swallowing Frieza's black hole sphere and rushing straight towards him. Frieza was horrified, unable to react. The massive wave of energy engulfed him, blasting him out into deep space. Frieza's scream was silenced in the sea of energy. The explosion occurred outside the atmosphere, lighting up the entire solar system like a newly born star. Gogeta stood there, panting, sweat drenching his forehead. He had used full power for that last attack, but he knew Frieza wasn't dead yet. He was too resilient. Gogeta raised his hand high, preparing for the true finishing move. Particles of rainbow-colored glittering energy began to gather in his palm. Stardust Breaker, the Soul Punisher. This attack would purge all evil, erasing Black Frieza's existence forever. Let's finish this, Gogeta whispered. But at that fateful moment, when victory was within reach, a dry sound rang out. Pop? Space itself seemed to stop. Gogeta froze. The aura around him suddenly flickered like a candle in a storm. His body began to glow and separate. What? Impossible. The time dot, it's not up yet, Vegeta screamed in his mind, his voice full of panic. The power. We used too much power, Goku realized in horror. Maintaining the fusion while simultaneously activating two ultimate divine techniques, plus the full power Kamehameha just now, had burned through the fusion time much faster than anticipated. 30 minutes had been reduced to less than 10. Before the shocked eyes of Beerus and Whis, the invincible warrior Gogeta vanished. Two familiar figures, Goku and Vegeta, separated and fell freely to the ground. Both were completely drained of energy, with no strength left to transform, or even to stand. They crashed onto the cold ground, gasping for air, their bodies aching as if about to shatter. Deadly silence covered the battlefield. The hope that had just sparked was extinguished in the cruelest way possible. And then, from the high sky, a dark shadow slowly descended. Frieza. He was in a more wretched state than ever. Half of his face was charred, revealing his skull, his right arm was severed, his tail cut off. Purple blood streamed down his body. His breathing was heavy and ragged. But he was alive. And his eyes, his one remaining eye, burned with the fire of insane hatred. He landed on the ground, stumbling towards Goku and Vegeta. His laughter rang out, rasping, weak but terrifying, like an echo from hell. Heaven does not wish to destroy me. Do you see? Even destiny stands on the side of Emperor Frieza. Goku tried to push himself up but collapsed. Vegeta ground his teeth, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, his eyes filled with helplessness and resentment. They had lost. Lost due to the very limits of their own bodies. Frieza stood before them, looking down with fake pity. He raised his remaining hand, his index finger gathering a purple-black death beam. Farewell, old friends. Thank you for the final dance. I will build a new empire upon your ashes. Beerus clenched his fist, ready to rush in. But Whis placed a hand on his shoulder, shaking his head slightly. You know the laws, Lord Beerus. A destroyer god cannot interfere too deeply in the fate of mortals. Furthermore, Whis directed his gaze toward a hidden corner of the battlefield, a place everyone seemed to have forgotten. There, the small body of Goten still lay motionless after being knocked out by Frieza's pressure earlier. But now, a strange phenomenon was occurring. Small stones around the boy's body began to vibrate violently and float into the air. The atmosphere around him became thick and scorching hot. A heartbeat sounded. It was so loud and clear. That sound was like a war drum, or the footsteps of an ancient monster awakening. A pillar of crimson energy, mixed with pitch black, suddenly erupted from Goten's body, shooting straight into the high sky, piercing the dark clouds. That energy did not carry the warmth of a Super Saiyan, nor was it divine like Super Saiyan God. It was cold, brutal, and contained a primal bloodlust, sensing a threat even more terrifying than Gogeta moments ago. In that pillar of crimson light, Goten slowly stood up. But this was no longer the innocent, cheerful Goten. His black hair spiked up, growing longer and sharper like blades. The muscles on his small body swelled, rippling with power. And most terrifying were his eyes, pure white eyes, with no pupils, soulless yet drilling deep into the psyche of anyone looking at them. Goku, despite being exhausted, sensed the horrific change in his son Goten. No. Don't. He wheezed, recalling his own warning. The hybrid Saiyan blood, when triggered by extreme rage and the pain of loss, would awaken an instinct more ancient than the Super Saiyan legend. An instinct of a beast fighting only to destroy. Beast instinct. Goten said nothing. The boy tilted his head slightly, his neck bones cracking. Then, he vanished. No sound of tearing wind, no afterimage. Simply disappearing from sight. Frieza felt a cold chill in his stomach. He looked down. A small fist was buried deep in his gut. Goten had appeared there instantly, piercing his strongest defenses as if they were paper gauze. Frieza spewed a massive amount of blood. He couldn't believe it. This speed. It was even faster than when he fought Gogeta. Goten looked up. Those blank white eyes stared at Frieza. No emotion, no mercy. The boy pulled his fist out, then delivered a vicious uppercut to Frieza's chin. The universe's tyrant was launched into the sky like a ball. Goten let out a long howl, a sound not human, echoing across the sky. He bent his knees, shattering the ground beneath him into a massive crater, and launched himself after Frieza. In midair, Goten became a true nightmare. He attacked Frieza madly, clawing, punching, kicking with absolute savagery. Frieza, who had just defeated the strongest warriors, was now completely helpless against a child who had lost control. He tried to fire back with death beams, but Goten didn't bother to dodge. He swatted the energy beams away with his bare hands and lunged in to bite Frieza's shoulder. "You, monster! Let me go!" Frieza screamed in pain and panic. He had never seen this way of fighting. It had no form, no martial arts. It was pure slaughter. On the ground, Trunks had just regained consciousness. The boy looked up at the sky in shock, where his best friend was torturing the universe's most fearsome enemy, Goten. What's wrong with him? Trunks asked, trembling. Vegeta struggled to sit up, looking at Kakarot's son with a complex gaze. That is the awakening of the cursed bloodline. When a hybrid Saiyan exceeds the threshold of emotional endurance, they don't become Super Saiyans. They become the embodiment of destruction. High above, Goten grabbed Frieza's severed tail stump, spun him around, and threw him violently to the ground. Frieza plummeted like a meteor, crashing down right in front of Goku and Vegeta. The dust cleared. Frieza lay there, gasping for life, his body broken. He tried to lift his head, looking toward Goten, who was slowly descending. The fear in Frieza's eyes was now genuine. He saw the Grim Reaper approaching in the form of a child. Goten stepped closer, his hand gathering a sphere of red-black energy, bubbling like boiling blood. He raised his hand, preparing to finish Frieza. But just then, Goku shouted with his last remaining strength. "Goten, stop. You'll lose yourself. Don't let the anger control you." Goten paused for a moment. His arm trembled. Deep within those blank white eyes, it seemed a sliver of consciousness was trying to fight back. Seizing that moment of hesitation, Frieza, with his ultimate cunning, hatched a mad plan. He knew he couldn't beat this monster, but he could drag everyone down to hell with him. "You fools," Frieza wheezed, his hands secretly pressing against the ground. A pulse of purple energy silently traveled deep into the earth, aiming straight for the Earth's core. "If I die, this planet will explode along with me in 5 seconds. Goten roared, about to lunge forward to kill Frieza instantly. But would he make it in time? Or would the explosion happen first? And even if Frieza was killed, who would stop the out-of-control Goten from destroying everything that remained? Just as everything hung by a thread, another key, equally powerful and majestic, exploded from the horizon. A figure rushed in at light speed, catching Goten's wrist. It was Gohan, in his beast form. Two brothers, the two monsters of the Saiyan family, faced each other amidst a collapsing world. One side was the wild beast instinct, the other was the controlled beast power. "I'm sorry I'm late," Gohan said, his red eyes looking at his younger brother with deep sorrow. "Let me handle the rest." Can Gohan awaken Goten? Can they stop the self-destruction of Earth triggered by Frieza? And what will be the fate of Black Frieza before the power of the Sun Brothers? All will be revealed in Part 3, the finale of the battle for survival. Who do you think is stronger, Goten Beast or Gohan Beast? Leave your comments below, like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the shocking conclusion of Dragon Ball Super: Rise of the Dark God. Thank you and see you again.